Okay. Zog the Heilige Mishnah, Daf Chav Zayin, Amid Aleph. Mamish, the Mishnah starts right on top. Nish b'levatlas a mitzvah v'lebitel. Somebody swears to be mevatla a mitzvah. For example, he's not going to put on tefillin, he's going to eat chametz on Pesach. V'loi bitel. And the Yetzer Tov kicks in, and he wasn't mevatla it, then he's potter. In other words, it's not called a violation of a shiur because the shiur was never chal. Never takes effect. To be mevatla a mitzvah, you can't make a shiur to be mevatla a mitzvah. L'kayim v'loikiyim. What about if he makes a Shevuos to fulfill a mitzvah and he didn't fulfill it? Then he's also potter. Shebedin shechayiv k'divrei Rabbi Yoel, the Mishnah says he should have been chayiv, like Rabbi Yoel says. Amar Rabbi Yoel, mamer rishus she'enoi mushbal ma'arsina rechayiv alav ma'adcha rishus, which he's not mechuyev ma'arsina to do it, and yet if he violates it, he's chayiv. So mitzvah she'mishbal ma'arsina and shechayiv alav savada mitzvah you be chayiv. Amar loy, so they said to him, loy. Im amarta b'shuas harishos, shekin also balav kehein. If you said it by a Shevuos harishos, that's only because you're able to make it in the negative and in the affirmative. In other words, so I'm going to eat ice cream, I'm not going to eat ice cream. It's shaykh to do it balav, lahora, or lahetiv. That's the Torah requires. That's one of the big conditions every Shevuos bitoy has, is that if you're making it in the negative sense, you have to be able to make it in the positive sense as well. That same Shevuos has to be applied in both directions. Time b'Shevuos mitzvah shelo yosef alav kain. By Shevuos mitzvah, there is no opportunity. You cannot cannot make a Shevuah that you're not going to do a mitzvah. Why? Shem nish b'lavat lebitul potter. Right? There's no Shevuah on bitul mitzvah. So if you're going to be mekayim, make a Shevuah to be mekayim, it doesn't work. Really, it should work, but it doesn't work because it's not subject to the halacha of lav vehen. Says the Gemara, Tonu Rabbanon. So I'm just looking over here on the bottom in the art scroll. They talk about, it sounds like the problem is lav vehen. In other words, the nishbal akayim is not chal because it's not subject to the lahora lahetiv, to that condition that every Shevuos bitoy has. In order to bring a carbon, has to be, you have to be able to make it both ways. Why can't they say pashat? You can't make it because you're mushbah v'ayimid. Nishbal akayim doesn't work, it's mushbah v'ayimar sinai. Yeah. Okay, so the Gemara, Tonu Rabbanon, Yochel nishbal vatz mitzvah lebitli yechayiv. I would have thought if somebody's mevatel the mitzvah, he swears I'm going to mevatel the mitzvah, and he's not mevatel it, yechayiv. Why? Because he violated the Shevuah. Tamad lemer lahora lahetiv. Ma tov rishos afara rishos. Just like a tov is rishos, has to be in something which is optional. So too hara is rishos. Oitzi nish b'vatz mitzvah lebitl shu potter. So the levatlas mitzvah is not a rishos. He's potter. Yochel nish b'lakayim mitzvah lekayim shechayiv should be chayiv. Tamad lemer lahora lahetiv. Ma hara rishos avatov rishos. Oitzi nish b'lakayim mitzvah lekayim shu potter. Right, so basically the brisa, first half of the brisa right now we just learned, is basically saying that lahora lahetiv is rishos, and since it's rishos, you can't do it on mitzvahs, whether it's mevatel or to be mekayim. What about nishba? Yochel nishba lahar la'atzmei v'laheru yochel yeh potter. I would have thought if somebody makes a Shevuah to harm himself, I would have thought that he should be potter. If he didn't harm us, didn't follow through on the Shevuah, tamad lamer lahar lahetiv. Ma tov rishos afara rishos. Just like hatova is rishos, so too azara is rishos. Sounds like from over here that harming yourself is mutter. It's a rishus. And that's why if you said I'm going to harm myself and you didn't harm yourself, you're chayav. Right? You're not potter. Yochel, you hate potter? No. Lahar lahetiv is rishus. This is called a rishus. Taisus already says that it's machlikas in machlikas in Babakam and Achoyvel, whether Odom Rishoy lachvel ba'atzmai, the person is allowed to harm himself, and over here, obviously, the Bryce is going according to Mandam, but it says you are allowed to. Okay, says the Gemara weiter. What about Yochel nish b'lar la'cherim v'leheira she'echayiv? I would have thought maybe when it comes to harming other people, that if you make a Shevuah, I'm going to harm somebody else, and you didn't follow through, I would have thought you're chayiv. Tamad lemer lahar lahetiv ma tov rishos afara rishos oitzi nishba. Lahar la'cherim v'leheira she'ein rishos biyadoi. that it's not a rishos. You can't go over to somebody else and just harm him. So that's it's not bechlal lahar lahetiv because it has to be rishos. Menai l'rabis atavas acherim. Talmud loimer oy lahetiv oy l'rabis ragam. It's not part of. You can't be. You can't make a shvuah to be meir acherim, but atavas acherim works because of oy. Now the brisa goes back, circles back to haros acherim. Be'ez haros acherim. Akas planted after smoichoy. I'm going to hit somebody and crack his brain open, crack his head open. Okay, now we go to the $1 million question on this brisa. Brisa assumes the whole brisa is predicated on the assumption that hatava and hara is referring to rishos. That's why mitzvah is not included in that. You can't make a shvuah levat l'lakayim mitzvah. You also can't make a shvuah lahar lacherim because it's not rishos. Because we're assuming that it's rishos. Ask the Gemara, mamai. How do I know that the kroi b'dvar rishos ksivi? How do I know that the psukim of lahar lahetiv is talking about a rishos? Dilma b'dvar mitzvah ksivi. Maybe it's also a mitzvah. Says the Gemara, lo yisal kadaitich. No, can't say that. Why? We have a hekish. It says lahar lahetiv, so it's makish atova ta'ara and hara ta'tova. The akish hara la tova, or makish hara ta'tova ma tova. Eino b'bitl mitzvah, afaro eino b'bitl mitzvah. So, whatever you cannot do in the realm of atava, you also can't make a shvuah in the realm of hara. So, if you were to swear, let's pull up that chart, by bitl mitzvah. If you were to swear, let's just say that you're going to eat chametz on Pesach, right? Laheta means sha'oichel chametz on Pesach. Okay. So, what would be the parallel case in terms of lahara, a bitl mitzvah of lahara? That be shelo yoichel. So, the Gemara says, I have a hekish, hara ta'tova, just like a tova. You can't make levat l'sa mitzvah. Why not? Because if you're saying I'm not going to eat chametz on Pesach, I'm going to eat chametz on Pesach, that's not hatova. It's partial hatova because it's hatova for your body. Body's having a no from the bread, but your soul is being damaged by it. So if your soul is being damaged, it's not complete hatova, so it doesn't work. That's not lehetiv. So once it doesn't work by hatova because of the hekish to hara, so now even bittul mitzvah by hara can't work, even though it should, right? Because hara by bittul mitzvah is the ultimate hara, right? You're not eating so you're depriving your body. You're also not eating matzah, which you're depriving your soul, which is the ultimate hara. Still, because there's a hekish to hatova, and by hatova bittul mitzvah doesn't work, so to hara bittul mitzvah doesn't work. So the only time it could work by hara, because it doesn't work by bittul mitzvah, because of the hekish to hatova, so what could hara work? Hara could work only when you're being mekayim the mitzvah, but that itself is also no good. Why? Because hara gufa hatavi, in such a case, the hara itself will be hatava. Why? Because you're being mekayim the mitzvah. So how are you being mekayim? Let's say, what's the case of hara in a kiyah mitzvah? The case of hara kiyah mitzvah is, guy says, I'm not going to eat chametz. So you're not going to eat, that's hara. But you're not going to eat chametz. That's really a partial hatava because it's good for the soul. You're keeping a mitzvah. So that hara gufa hatavi, so it's not shaykh by bittul mitzvah, and even in that case, by kiyah mitzvah. Says the Gemara.
Like when a test comes back negative.
Yes.
Right? A test comes back negative is a positive thing.
Ah,
you know
very good, yeah.
It's a positive thing, but the test
Right.
is negative.
Excellent, right. Okay. Now the other way around also, says the Gemara. V'akish hatav hara. Ma hara ena b'kiyah mitzvah. Just like hara is not possible by a kiyah mitzvah, why not? Let's take this case itself, right? Let's do kiyah mitzvah. Hara by kiyah mitzvah. So he makes a shvuah lahara shaloi oichel chametz in Pesach. Yeah, you see the nice loaf of bread? It's geschmack. So you make a shvuah, sourdough. Oh, it's delicious. So you make a shvuah lahara shaloi oichel chametz b'Pesach. Is that hara? It's a partial hara, right? You're not going to eat depriving the body, but you're not going to eat chametz on Pesach. That's good for the soul. So it's not shayich lahara by a kiyah mitzvah because it's not a full hara. So therefore, once it's not shayich by lahara, so mikoyach the hekish of hatava tahara, it's also not shayich by hatava, even though the parallel case by hatava would be eating matzah on Pesach, and that's an ultimate hatava because you're benefiting the body and the soul because you're eating matzah on Pesach. Still, since it doesn't work by hara, because by hara would only be a partial hara by kiyah mitzvah, so you can't work by hatava hagam, it's a complete hatava by a kiyah mitzvah because the hekish. So the only way hatava could work is by bittul mitzvah. Right, but that wouldn't work either. Why? Because by bittul mitzvah hatava, that wouldn't be hatava, complete hatava. It's only a partial hatava. Because, right, eating chametz on Pesach is a partial hatava. Hatava gufa Haroi in itself has an element of hara if you're being mevatel the mitzvah ba'atov, saying, I'm going to eat chametz on Pesach. Yeah, you're going to eat, so you're going to have pleasure, but you eat chametz, that's damaging the soul. So tava guf haroi. So basically, the Gemara just summarized the reason why we're forced to say that lahara lehetev is talking about rishus, not mitzvah. Because once there's a hekesh, hara ta'atov, atov ta'hara, then you're ruling out any case of bittul mitzvah and kiyam mitzvah, because in some case it's not going to be a partial. It's going to be a partial atov and a partial hara, and therefore, because the hekesh, you're eliminating the entire zach, the entire thing. Asks the Gemara, yachi b'dvar rishus nami lo mishkachas lo. If so, you can make the same cheshbon by dvar rishos. Yeah, let's pull up by dvar rishos. Let's give an example. So let's say dvar rishos will be, you say Shevuos sheloi oichel, Shevuos sheloi oichel candy, right? All that sugar, all that yummy stuff over there. So the Shevuos sheloi oichel candy, that's not a complete hara, because candy is damaging, right? It's damaging for your health. Sugar, contrary to popular belief, right? We don't want to eat too much sugar. So here, you have a sheloi oichel, which is a hara, but sheloi oichel what? Something which is actually a benefit to your health. So it's not 100% hara, it's a partial hara. And since there's a hekesh to lehetiv, so if you're talking about a complete, just haras, it's a partial hara, so even though you're talking about a complete hatava, right, what's good for your body, because it has to be in the same realm, the same pattern. It has to be a parallel case. So that would be sha'oichel broccoli, but because the hekesh, you wouldn't be able to do that. Because there's a hekesh that if you're making a shavua on health, if it doesn't work by lahara, because it's not a complete hara, it's only a partial hara, because it's healthy, then it wouldn't work by atava either, because there's a hekesh. So then you're ruling out all kinds of food, and also vice versa. So basically, yachi b'dvar rishus nami mishkachas lo, loy mishkachas lo, you never have a shavua by dvar rishus either. So it can't be that that's how I know that lahar lehetev is not talking about a dvar mitzvah. Because if that's the logic, then even, you ruled out even dvar rishos. Since the Brisa mentions, how do I know that if you make a Shevuah to be native to other people, that you have to keep to that Shevuah? Because there's the word oi. There's an extra word of oi. So the Gemara says, 1 second. Hatavas acherim is a mitzvah. So if the pasuk is really talking about lahar lehetev by mitzvahs, I don't need the oi. Why not? Because if the isakdayt with our mitzvah ksivi hashta ros acherim misrabi, if lahara laacherim, right, is nisrabe by dvar mitzvah hatavas acherim b'boi, that it's chal haras acherim means you mavatel a mitzvah. You're saying I'm not going to give tzedakah to an ani. Let's just say that, right? So that's chal. If that's chal, bavad, if you say you're going to be native to somebody, that it's going to be chal. So why do I need oi? So from the fact that the Brisa has to come on to oi to teach you the dvar mitzvah of atavas acherim is chal, must be lahar lehetev is not talking about mitzvahs. Otherwise, we need that oi. Yeah. Reminds me of a shmaka ma'isa. There's a guy who runs a camp Mar Rabu. Yeah, it's a traveling camp. My son went to this camp last summer. He had a great time, and. The guy runs it. One of the people who runs it, his name is Rabbi Mendelowitz, Raphael Mendelowitz. So one year he took all of the boys to New Square for Shabbos, and just want them to experience what it's like to be for Shabbos, New Square with the Rebbe at a tish. And I guess the Rebbe noticed this group of kids, and he was the leader. So in the middle of the tish, he tells the Gabba, he points to Rabbi Mendelowitz. He says, "Mechubed with the next to Niggin." He thought he was going to die, like 1,000, 2,000 Hasidim, and he is being honored with starting the next niggin, and he doesn't know Skar Nigunim, like what should he sing, you know? Like, you don't know what to do. So, there's a chassid next to him. It's a great Maisa. Chassid next to him. He said, just start and say, oi. Oi, oi, oi. He said, you sure? It's like all happened in like 3 seconds. Oi. He says, oi, oi. And within a split second, the whole crowd, oi, 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 oi. Whatever they want to call it. Anyway, homiletically, I'm just saying, oi, l'rabbas atavas acherim, yeah? When you say, oi, it's marba atavas acherim. Like everybody's doing a gavaldiga, everybody comes together. Somebody else said, when Das steht da, it's New Square. And one Yid yells, Oi! And everybody comes to the rescue. Okay. It's Gewaltige Meise, no? So, says the Gemara, V'hai oi, meboyle lechalik. How can you tell me that oi is teaching you? L'rabas atavas acherim. V'hai oi, meboyle lechalik. I needed to be mechalik. Without oi, I would have said that you're only chayv and Shevuos bito if you make a Shavua lahara ulahetiv. As long as you're missing one part, in other words, you only said lahara or only lahetiv, you wouldn't be chayv because it says lahara lahetiv. So oi is mechalik with either or. In other words, you mechayv for a ra alone or tava alone. So how can you tell me a darshan from the oil, the Rabbis of Zacherim, oy meboyle l'chalik? So where's l'chalik l'tzarech kra? I don't need a pasuk to be mechalik. Why not? Because even without being mechalik, I wouldn't translate the meaning of lahar lehetiv as needing both together. So the Gemara says, Hanich l'Rabbi Yonasan. This is only good according to Rabbi Yonasan. But according to Rabbi Yashia, the Tanya, now we're going to go into this Gemara. Gemara we had, I believe in Makkas, we had in Sanhedrin, the beginning of Sanhedrin, a few places. Isha shikalas avivus imoy. Says, person who curses his parents, mother and father, ainli ela aviv imoy. I only know if he curses them both in one shot. What about Ovev v'lo yima, ima v'lo ovev. Minayin. How do I know if he only curses one? How do I know that he's chayev even on one? Talmud learn ovev ima kilel, ovev kilel ima kilel. You have another pasuk where it has the word kilel next to the mother, and the first pasuk it's next to the father. So I know either or you're chayev on. Div Rabbi Yashia. Rabbi Yonas Noimer. No, you don't need an extra pasuk to teach you that even if you curse them individually, you're chayev. Why? Because mashma shnayim ke'echad, the mashma echad v'nei atzmai. It's mashma echad v'nei atzmai. In other words, if avav v'imay kilel, ishikalas avav v'imay means either or. I don't need another pasuk to tell me that you're chayiv on cursing each of them individually. It's already implicit in the pasuk alone. So the Gemara says, Ad sheyifred l'cha kosav yachdav. Until the Torah puts them together with an extra word yachdav, it's translated and understood as either or. Says the Gemara, Filotem Rabbi Yashia, the Darish Rebuya Yamuute. Could be even Rabbi Yashia. Rabbi Yashia holds that oy is not extra. You need oy to be mechalek. So how do I know l'rabas atavas acherim? That was the Gemara's question, right? You're dashing from oy l'rabas atavas acherim. How do I know that? According to Rabbi Yashia, I need it to be mechalik. Says the Gemara of Sabla Rabbi Kiva the Darsh Rebuya Yumiute. Rabbi Kiva Darsh is called Terakula B'derech Riba Yamid. So Yom Shal B'dvar Shus Ksev Ma'idvar Mitzvah. Then I can understand that the meat has come to Ma'idvar Mitzvah. Elo Yomrid B'dvar Mitzvah Ksev Ma'ikam Amayit. If it's talking already about Dvar Mitzvah, so then what's the meat? So from the fact that he holds like Rabbi Kiva that Darsh is Rebuya Mu'ute. So I know that Lahar Leita was talking about Dvar Rishos. So therefore, I can teach me on a Dvar Mitzvah. L'rabas atavas acherim. A little more difficult Gemara, like Mepharshim struggle with this. Okay. Because how does Rabbi Kiva rescue the oy? According to Rabbi Kiva, all I know is Lahar Leita was Rishos, but still, oy is necessary to be mechalik even in Dvar Rishos. How is, according to Rabbi Kiva, oy extra? Okay. Rabbi Yoel said that in the Mishnah that if a guy makes a shvuah l'kayim es a mitzvah, if a loikim is chayiv. But the Rabbana said no, he's not chayiv because it's not subject to lav hen, because nishba lavatel doesn't work. So even nishba l'kayim wouldn't work because it has to be lahar lahetiv. You have to have a lav hen. So the Gemara says Rabbanon shapik ka'amrulei l'Rabbi Yoel Gold. Rabbanon's time is really geshmak. No, they're right. Rabbi Yoel Gold otu atavas acherim lav afalgav the lesa b'chlal aras acherim v'Rabbi Rachmana. Didn't we just say that's in the Brisa that if a guy makes a shvuah lehetiv la'acherim, which is a mitzvah. It works, right? Lahara la'acherim doesn't work. So you see that a case where it's not subject to lavahen works. So chanai b'kiyam mitzvah. Afagav the lesser mitzvah. Rabbi Rachmanim, you don't need lavahen, right? Even by kiyam mitzvah, even if it's no less, even if it's less of a mitl mitzvah, it's okay. It's good. Rabbanon, what are the Rabbanon going to say? Rabbanon's taina is you need a lavahen. But the ois counting mar b'tavas acherim. B'tavas acherim is no lavahen, and they agree that a tavas acherim works. So you don't need lavahen. Gemara says no. Hasim isa b'loy etiv. Over there is lavahen. When you say lahetiv lacherim, shvu lahetiv lacherim, there's a lavahen. What's the lav? Loy etiv. It doesn't mean you're going to be meira lacherim. The opposite of doing good is doing nothing, not doing bad. That's basically what the Gemara is saying. Hacha mi isa b'loy akayim. But over here, by mitzvahs, if you're not being makayim, you're being mavatal, right? If you do nothing, you're being mavatal, right? It's like either I'll put on tefillin tomorrow, or I won't be makayim it, so I'll stay in bed. So it means you can mavatal it. So therefore, it's not belavahen, and that's why in a case of nishba l'kayim as a mitzvah, it wouldn't work. Okay, we'll stop over here.